I feel compelled to write about something that has become evident to me since the COVID pandemic has swept the world. I can see how all this has exposed the church's heart and left so much confusion amongst believers. The devil's tactics have always been to divide and conquer, and this is exactly what I see happening. I believe a lot of this has stemmed from a teaching prevalent in the church of a future Antichrist and all that's associated with it, such as taking the mark and the government wanting to control us. You may say, isn't it in the Bible? Did you know this teaching has only been adopted by the church since the late 1800s and was originally the brainchild of a Jesuit order of priests who were formed to stop the Reformation in the mid-1500s? The Reformers ignored this teaching back then, but 300 years later, after the fires of the Reformation had died down, it was taken on board by the modern church and has since morphed into an elaborate theory that many consider now to be gospel truth. The Reformers believed so strongly that the popes of the Dark Ages were the Antichrist system that they were prepared to die for their belief. Grattan Guinness, who wrote The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, estimates that 50 million died opposing this system back in the day. Consider this. If you believe in a future Antichrist, then you are saying that God has had nothing to say in the Bible about the greatest religious political system the world has ever known. This system went on for 1,260 years and actually ruled nations and declared that the only way to get to heaven was through them. Their leaders often declared that they were God on earth. At the beginning of the book of Revelation, it says that these things shall shortly come to pass, and that was over 2,000 years ago. Many today are still waiting for most of Revelation to happen when it has happened already, and it speaks a lot about this system in the book of Revelation. Praise God, this political religious system was dismantled by the late 1800s after the French Revolution and Britain and other countries broke away from papal Rome. The way is now open for the church to get herself ready. I believe the hour is much later than we think. This teaching formulated by the Jesuits has chloroformed the church into a false sense of security. We are taught to believe that there will be a falling away of the church and the man of sin will then appear and sit in the rebuilt Jewish temple in Jerusalem, declaring himself to be God. Believe me, this has already happened in the church. Just check your history books. We are waiting for something to happen that is an elaborate lie designed by Satan to keep us asleep to the lateness of the hour. It's now time for the bride to get herself ready for her coming king, but she is being distracted by all this other stuff and is more interested in the Antichrist than the Christ. Another thing, if you study the two prophecies in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7 of the great image and the four beasts from a historicist view, you will see that there is no one world government to come. Pagan Rome was divided into 10 kingdoms, which then became papal Rome. They too ruled the world for over 1,000 years, had armies at their disposal and actually owned 3 of these kingdoms. The next world government is not Russia, China or Islam, it's the rock, the church. I'm not saying this because I'm against the Catholic Church, for they are not like this anymore and have many good Christians in their midst. Yes, there still is the spirit of Antichrist with us today, but the Antichrist has been already. The prophecy has been fulfilled. Praise God, the way is now open for the bride to get herself ready to meet her coming king. If you want to know more on this subject, go to my bio page, sleekbio.com/G-Hotter. There are 2 articles there on the Great Deception and God's end time plan.